What did die that day was my hope for what I wanted for my life. I don't even think I realized that I was going through grief, but I think one of the hardest things to kill is what you had in mind. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Ev, and today I'm going to be recording another authentic self video. You guys know I started making these videos in the beginning of the year, beginning of 2021, but I've been on my therapy journey since the end of 2020. I want to say August 2020 was when I officially got into therapy, and it has helped tremendously. But these videos are really just like chapters of the journey of me becoming my most authentic self, and that has not been easy. It has been a healing process. I do not document everything, but I do want to share some things because I feel like my healing journey can help you along your way. And so I don't even know officially what I'm going to call this video yet, but somewhere along the lines of I didn't know I was grieving, I didn't know I needed help, I don't know. I don't know, but I was enlightened earlier this year with some information that I think helping people who have either diagnoses or disabilities or anything chronic going on with your physical self. I think this video might help you guys. I am going to be going over the 5 stages of grief. There are 5 stages of grief. For all of you that don't know, if this is the first video that you're seeing from me, hi, my name's Ebony, and I got diagnosed with a genetic eye condition when I was 15 years old called Stargardt's disease. It is macular dystrophy and or macular degeneration. Basically, my central vision is deteriorated, but my peripheral vision is intact. And because I was diagnosed under 18, it's considered childhood macular degeneration, but Stargardt's is the last name of the scientist who discovered it, and Stargardt's disease is what I have. It is a genetic eye condition. One thing that I think would have helped me at the time, I wish I had had a counselor, a mentor, a psychologist, somebody that was outside of my family, right? And also not feeling the blow of being like burdened with this eye condition. But I wanted someone to help me navigate that space and have the proper coping techniques to get through it. And I think I would have gotten through it a lot faster had I known that it was a thing, right? I didn't even know it was a thing. But there are individuals who are out there that can help you if you are going through something like this. So I would like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video and providing a service like that to millions of people who need help navigating these spaces. If there is anything in your life that is preventing you from happiness or achieving your goals, BetterHelp is an online option that can match you with licensed professionals who can help you meet your needs and cope, navigate these spaces so that your healing process doesn't have to take as long as mine did. BetterHelp is not a crisis line and it is not a self-help website. It is an online service that securely matches you with online professionals, licensed professionals to help you. There is a broad range of expertise available in BetterHelp's counseling network that might not be available for you locally, and it is available worldwide. So anywhere you guys are, I know a lot of different countries watch me because I can see the stats on the back end. If you are available and you have an internet connection, BetterHelp is there. Once you create your account online, you can log in and send your counselor a message at any time. You can receive a timely response, and you can set up video and phone call messages anytime throughout the week, so it goes with your schedule and something that's really convenient, so you don't have to drive anywhere and spend your gas. You can literally do it from the comfort of your own home, and you don't have to sit in a waiting room or anything like that. BetterHelp is committed to making sure that you have a healthy and therapeutic match. So if you are not happy with your original pairing, they make it easy to switch counselors to someone you are happy with. It also is a more affordable option than traditional offline counseling and therapy, and there is financial aid available as well. They want you to start living your best life today. Get the happiness that you deserve in your life today. So be sure to visit BetterHelp.com. That is BetterHelp.com/Ebony, so that you can join the millions of people who are taking charge of their mental health with the help of licensed therapists, counselors, and healthcare professionals. For all of my Wonderfros that are watching, eVaniwithaV specifically, if you go to BetterHelp.com/Ebony, you do receive 10% off your first month. So I highly recommend. I think it is a way to accelerate your healing process without having to figure it out on your own. It wasn't until earlier this year when I was working with Adjoa. You guys know I do some digital media content for them, especially Instagram stories, and March, Women's Appreciation Month, we decided to highlight Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who invented the model for grieving. In 1969, she came out with a book called, hold on. Wait a second. She came out with a book called On Death and Dying. There is no death or dying associated with me and my physical condition on the outside, but there was a death and a dying within me and within my emotional well-being on the inside. And I can specifically name stages that I went through over the years that, like I said, I didn't even know that that was part of the grief process until earlier this year when we were going through all of the content and I started lining things up, and it's like, oh my gosh. I was grieving all of these things I was going through. I was grieving, and that hit so hard. It was very enlightening because I think knowledge is power, but it was also like, whoa. I was going through all of those things and I was trying to figure it out by myself. I was trying to cope on my own. I was trying to cover it up and prop myself back into some form of normality, and still things fell apart for me, if not continued to unravel even more because I was not actually dealing with my emotions. I was very avoidant with them, and like I said, continued to grieve on the inside and didn't know what was going on with me. So there are 5 stages of grief, and I'm going to go over what all of them are, but then I'm also going to give you my experience and how I dealt with it personally, because like I said, it was hard for me to recognize, especially at 15. I think in adolescence, there's a lot that can happen that can affect you for the rest of your life. For those of you that don't know, I'm 31 and this is 16 years later, and like I said, I just figured this out earlier this year. Okay, so the first stage is denial, and I have mentioned this before in a previous video that I was in denial basically after I got sat down at the doctor's office. But first stage is denial. Usually at this stage, an individual tries to cling to a false sense of reality and go back to whatever the normal is, as if the diagnosis or anything wasn't real. So for me, I got diagnosed in March, I want to say, of 2005, and I had gone to the Shea Eye Institute. I was there with both of my parents, and after all of the testing, they sat all 3 of us down, and the doctor basically was like, you know, it's definitely this. It is a mutation in the genes. Basically, both my parents are carriers, and neither one of them have it, but I do. So it's genetic recessive, and I was there, but I like wasn't there. He was saying the words, but I like wasn't hearing the words. And I remember going home, I cried myself to sleep, and then when I woke up, I remember, well, one, when I was crying, I remember asking God, like, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do? What do you mean I'm losing my vision? What do you mean it's not gonna go back? Like, it was very, very surreal to me. And then the next morning I woke up and I'm kind of just like, that didn't happen. It's okay. I'm fine. Just because it goes that way for other people doesn't mean it's gonna go that way for me. It was like a highly subjective condition, and still is, but for the most part, legal blindness, 2200, which is my visual acuity, is very, like, that's definitely part of the bar, okay? That's definitely part of the gig. And I was like, no, what they're saying is not true. I had already started experiencing symptoms, and in my head, I'm like, just give me some glasses and it'll go away. Give me some glasses and I'll be fine. But it's not fixable by glasses. There are no treatments. There is no cure as of today, to date. It's just not, it's just, you gotta live with it, that's it. And so while it's not complete blindness and it's not as severe a condition, or it's not a terminally ill condition, it's still, I think that was the first step of grieving in my life, where I was in denial. Like, oh, I heard what he said, but you know, like, it's not me though. And just because he's saying all of this stuff on paper doesn't mean that that's the real life manifestation of it. And basically, he had said people who have this eye condition live very normal lives. And while I do think I'm more on the high functioning side of having this eye condition, I don't think anything about my life has been normal since then. So there's that. The second stage is anger, and basically at this stage an individual realizes that denial cannot continue and that their reality, you know, they continue to suffer with the symptoms of whatever the doctor had told them originally, and they have a very blaming mentality to them. Sometimes they start to blame shift and put it on other people or individuals in the immediate proximity or on God. And I know I definitely was angry. Like I may have come off like an angry black woman, but it wasn't, I think that was like the undertow. I don't know if I ever expressed the fact that I was angry that I was losing my vision, but I did actively like lose vision. And I remember 3 specific sharp declines in vision where it's like, I can't see what I could see yesterday. I can't see as far. And usually with distance, it's like what visual distance, you know what I'm saying? It was really hard for me to accept that was even real. Like, I can't see what I could see yesterday. I can't see what I could see 6 months ago. I can't see what I could see a year ago, and I'm continually declining. And that is what the doctor said was going to happen, and that is happening to me, and I can't keep going like this. You know, at some point I'm gonna have to ask for help. And at the time I had performative self-worth issues. I had ascribed a lot of value and worth with me performing and showing up for people and doing what I was told and receiving any kind of validation from that, you know, following the rules. And now, because I was on the receiving end of help and not on the giving end of help, it just flipped all of my self-worth upside down, to be completely honest with you. It was trash. And I got angry. I got angry at my parents specifically, because I felt like they should have known. Not that people know these types of things, but also I think that was one of my deciding factors in wanting to become a genetic counselor, because hopefully I can help other people realize that they could have children with these conditions and prevent them from having problematic children. That was like one of my main things in life. Like, you know, if you have a purpose, what is your why? That was my why for picking genetic counseling. I was mad because now I have to deal with this thing that neither one of them really know about. You know, they don't have it, they don't live with it. I have to live with it, and they should have known better. And that is the anger part. I had shifted my anger onto my parents, and I had shifted my anger onto God, because I felt like at the time I had a very Santa Claus mentality about God and spirituality and anything like that, going to church and stuff. I grew up Christian, and the idea that God would let something like this happen to me, or how could I be a child of God if I'm sick like this, or everybody else is fine and I'm the one who's got my hand out, like I'm the one on the receiving end of needing a lot of help. And I got mad because I shouldn't have to have my hand out. I shouldn't have to be the beggar on the side of the road. Like, mentally, that's where my head was. And I was very angry at God and angry at my parents, because both of them, I felt like some kind of way I needed to take what was going on in me and like project it out of me. I didn't want it to be in there, but like I said, did not understand that that's what I was doing. I just knew that I was angry, and I want to say that the anger came, I want to say probably about like a year or two later. I had shut down. I was not as vocal as I used to be. I wasn't as happy as I used to be, mainly because I couldn't see and do and function like I used to. And doing the workarounds, like finding workarounds for me, I felt like was embarrassing. Like, I'm 15, 16, 17 years old, and I have to pull out a magnifying glass to see regular size font, 12-point font, and I still do, right? So it just, like I said, at the time everything was fresh and new, and I was mad. Third stage is bargaining, and I definitely remember doing this in college. I had graduated high school at the time, and I had gotten accepted to Howard University, and I had started going to college. And I remember, I want to say probably about like end of my sophomore year, beginning of my junior year, I had started bargaining. But this is years later, mind you. And like I said, recovery is not a straight line, so it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Eventually I made progress. Now I believe I am in a healthier place, but the bargaining happened. So at the bargaining stage, typically an individual bargains with God, bargains with a higher power, bargains to try and regain their old life back for a more reformed life. So if you were diagnosed with something terminal, you would say, oh God, if you heal me, then I'll be able to show up for the people that I love, and I won't lie anymore, and I won't curse anymore, and I won't drink anymore, those kinds of things. That's what the bargaining looks like. I'm not saying that that's exactly what it is, but that's typically what bargaining looks like. And my bargaining was, oh, if I can just see what I could see 6 months ago, or if I could have the vision that I had in high school. Mind you, this is not even like complete like good vision, but I was on a decline at that point. And if I could just get back the vision when I first got diagnosed, or if I could just get my old vision back, if I could see what I could see before, then I'll be a better person, then I'll start spreading the word of God, then I'll start being a better Christian, and all the things that they tell you to do in church, and all of the things, you know, like that was my bargaining. Because at the time I was like, I don't believe that this is a good Christian commercial if I'm going blind. Like, why would anyone want to sign up for Christianity? And if this is what happens to the children of God, like, why would anybody want to sign up for this? You know, what type of life is this? I am the one that's asking for all the help. They're the ones that have to give me help. So if I could, this is what bargaining looked like with me. If I could be healed and not have to deal with this thing anymore, then I can move forward in my old life basically, and things will go back to normal. The idea that I kept talking to God back and forth, and feeling like I needed to negotiate my old life back. Like, it's still within reach. It's still something that I can get back to. And I want to say negotiation went on for a few years. I'm not completely sure when it started and stopped, but I do remember my junior year of college specifically being depressed, and I mean that very seriously. So the fourth stage is depression. Depression with me looked like sleeping a lot. I did not care about anything. With the fourth stage of depression, your normal interests don't interest you anymore. You don't care about the normal things that you usually do. You don't have like a zest for life. You don't wake up happy, and you typically are like in a sullen, sunken state, and you may or may not be able to explain it. And I know I was definitely depressed my junior year of college. I think the trigger for the depression, like out of the bargaining stage and into the depression stage, was the fact that I couldn't pass organic chemistry 2. I passed 1, I did not pass 2, and I eventually did pass the class, but I had to take it again. And the idea was that if I didn't pass that class, then going on to genetic counseling, you know, at the time I still felt like I need to help other people who are trying to have children that may or may not have a lot of issues, and warn them so they don't end up like me. And 2, maybe I can help myself. Maybe I can fix myself before I lose any more vision. And that was also just a very flawed mentality. I was living out of emotional wounding of what happened to me, but it was trauma in my head. If I can fix myself, then I'm gonna be okay. Since the bargaining didn't work, since I don't know if God is up there, since I still have to struggle and things are way harder for me now, they've just gotten worse, they didn't get better. What the doctor said was gonna happen did happen. Now I've gotten triggered to a point where it's like you're not even passing your regular academic classes because, you know, I think it compounded on top of everything else that I was going through. And the class was difficult. That's why I wasn't passing. But I also felt like the difficulty is coming from my lack of vision. And like I said, there are no straight lines to this. So I was going through lots of different phases, recycling them. At that point, I think that was the trigger for the depression. And within me, depression looked like sleeping all the time. I mean, I got excited to go to sleep because I didn't want my life. I didn't want to wake up again. I didn't want to continue to not see some more. It's like all my days are the same. Things are blurring together. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. I was sleeping all the time. I didn't want to hang out with my friends. I didn't go to some classes. I was skipping them because at the time I had moved off campus. I didn't want to be in my life. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to continue living the way that I was living. Because my hope had died, because I felt like, again, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. What is the point? What is the point of living? What is the point of moving on? What is the point of continuing? Because this is a really shitty life. It is. And I don't want to keep going like this. Sorry. That lasted, I want to say, into my senior year. I remember graduating and like I had done all the senior graduation stuff right on the outside, and I was partying with my friends, and I'm like, it's the last time it's ever going to be like this. But I do remember walking across the stage and feeling very empty because I felt like I missed it. I missed something that I should have gotten when I was at college, when I had this college experience. And by the end of it, it was still a very empty feeling, and I know that that can be part of depression as well. I don't think I stayed depressed the whole year and a half through senior year. Like I said, it came and went. It was fluctuations. But I definitely do remember feeling like that walking across the stage. But moving on to stage 5, right? I don't even know officially when I got to stage 5, and I attribute this to God's healing power and the Holy Spirit just at work in my heart. Stage 5 is acceptance, where you get to the point where you're like, I'm gonna be okay. It's gonna work out. It's not the end of the world. There is still something to live for. I do still have a purpose here. I can accept that this is my new normal, and I can move forward in this, and it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And I don't know officially, I don't know if there was like an exact day where I was like, I'm definitely at stage 5. I'm accepting all of this, but I do think it happened slowly but surely over time in little increments. What I will say though was that in college, between junior and senior year, was when I found TD Jakes Ministries, and his sermons and stuff, they were like preaching me out of the darkness, basically into the light. And that's what I believe acceptance is. It's healing, it's light, it's a higher vibration, it's a higher frequency, it's a higher self. It's a version of you that isn't the old version, but it is still full of hope and options and optimism. And although your life might not look like what you had in mind, it still is a good life. It is still worth living. It is still worth showing up for. And so coming out of depression into the light and into acceptance of this is my new normal. I need to use the workarounds. I need to ask for help. I need other people to understand that this is what's going on with me. I need to articulate myself and show up in the world in this way and have others accept this version of me. I didn't want people to believe that I was weak or broken or needed or needy. I didn't want to come off needy, but the idea, I think, for me and acceptance was that I am the girl that got that diagnosis at 15, and I need to walk in this truth. I need to walk in my authentic self, because if I don't, there is no other life. And if you don't start living now, you never will. Once again, is that acceptance comes from walking in your authentic self, walking in your truth, and not projecting that there is some way that you can get away from what happened to you. It is showing up as you are, just as you are, and that isn't a bad thing. It is still something worth showing up for, and you do still have hope for your life. It's not over. Things are gonna be okay. And that was my grieving process when it came to getting diagnosed. Now, once again, this is not a terminal illness. The Elizabeth Kubler-Ross grieving model was in relation to terminal illnesses and getting diagnosed with things that lead to death. That is not where I'm at. But in getting diagnosed, I still think that I went through all 5 stages of grief, all of them, if not multiple stages at a time, and backtracked and like went forward, you know, it all still added up to me grieving on the inside. and added up to me not knowing that that's what was going on with me. And I'm making this video because I just found out that that's what was going on with me this year. 16 years in the making from the time I got diagnosed to now. But I want all people to get to that acceptance point. I want all people to walk in their authentic self, and that comes from accepting who you are, accepting exactly what happened to you, accepting and acknowledging that that is still a life worth living, that you do not have to stay in depression. You don't have to continue to cycle through all of these emotions. You can get help. You can navigate this space. You can go get the proper tools to cope, and you can heal up to a point where you can make videos on the internet about what happened. Because to me, one of the worst things that I did to myself was not show it, not share it, not talk about it out loud, because I think giving a voice to all of those negative emotions and to that process helps it go faster. Now for me, like I said, this has been 16 years in the making of me realizing that I was grieving what I had in mind, grieving a version of myself that was no longer attainable, and accepting that the version of me that was in the mirror is still a good version, is still somebody who I need to show up for, and is still, you know, capable of a lot of things. But my hope coming back was at the end of acceptance. I'm sharing because I hope this helps you heal and recognize maybe you're going through something that you didn't know how to name. Because who knew, right? They have like psychological terms for these things. Remember to let your spirit, soul, and hair stay lifted like an Afro puff. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.